The Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund, or AECF, was established in 2008. The founding principle came from the realization that aid had failed in solving developmental issues in sub-Saharan Africa, and so there was a need to fund local and context-specific private sector enterprises that were proposing innovative solutions through a market-based approach. However, around 2020, when Victoria Sabula was brought in as AECF's new CEO, it was in the face of a governance crisis within the organization.
And when I joined AECF about 3 years and some months ago, it was actually out of a failure. The governance structure that we thought would have worked collapsed right on the face of the institution during a time of crisis. An African institution that had grown so rapidly and its governance systems did not advance to be able to support that particular growth. And it was painful.
You're listening to Fail Loud, a series that draws insights from failures in the development sector, brought to you by SELCO Foundation's Impact Failure platform. In this episode, we understand the approach and outlook that enabled Victoria Sabula to bring back African Enterprise Challenge Fund, or AECF, from a governance collapse to a stronger and more resilient organization, as learned from her address at Impact Failure 2022. AECF's governance crisis arose from lack of clarity on the mission, operational inefficiencies, and inadequate engagement with local entrepreneurs, creating unstable frameworks that limited their ability to positively impact the fragile contexts and high-risk economies of Africa. However, instead of backing down, the task at hand for Victoria Sabula was to focus on facilitating a turnaround for AECF. What laid the grounds for it was support from funders who believed in the mission of the organization, who saw the opportunity in crisis to help build a stronger governance system that could serve the organization's potential.
We are stronger today because a crisis made us to rethink how the organization required to be run from a mix of competencies and really thinking about personalities. An activist out there will be an activist in the board. An investor out there will be an investor in the board. Too much crowding of one particular orientation will bring down, irrespective of what a balance is so important. 417 businesses later, $300 million deployed across 26 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Oh, we have failed a lot. Actually, I think we are the house of failures. Like, we can tell you everything from technology to geography to, what works for bottom of the pyramid in some context and what really doesn't work. But because of that failure, we actually have systemic change that we've been able to absorb.
Victoria focuses on a particular program called Renewable Energy and Adaptive Climate Technologies, or REACT-1, from 2012. The program onboarded 53 companies to be financed in their early stages. From them, about 40%, that is 23 companies, failed.
Why did we fail? It is because bringing in companies in a sector that was emerging at the time, we thought they just needed grant capital. Hey, here is money, go ahead, succeed. Then we realized that many of them had accountants who didn't have the necessary expertise to, be able to grow beyond this grant capital. They did not have sales and marketing strategies. They did not even understand their addressable market. Did we ask them these questions? We did not. So what happened? 40% of the portfolio failed, but out of the 40%, guess what? 100% of them were locally owned businesses. Because the locally owned businesses didn't have the background that foreign owned businesses had. A network. They also did not have the necessary expertise on how to mobilize additional capital.
A hard look at these failures highlighted the need to create and stimulate a wider ecosystem that could support local businesses in their journey to grow. It became clear that to set them up for success meant giving them a long-term support system, and it lay beyond the boundaries of funding.
We actually set up the AECF Advisory Studio, where we have experts who sit with the companies for a long period of time. Someone was willing to say, repurpose this capital, because when I went and I said, this is not working. We really need full-time advisory experts. Again, our funders said, yes. So today, we moved and we have React SSA, one of our biggest programs, a $62 million program. 87 companies, 66.4% of them are locally owned. As at now, only 3 of them have closed. 4% of all of our funding goes into technical assistance and 3% goes into investor readiness. Every design of our programs today, whenever we go to our funders, we say thank you for the capital, but in the absence of an advisory report, we can't take it. We must, however, learn. Why must we learn? The people who are relying on our expertise, on our commitment, are not seated in this room today. How do we help them to be more resilient?
Victoria's experience with reviving AECF's governance systems by continually studying its failures highlights the need to relentlessly unpack the causes of mission failures for it to better serve the people it is meant for. And out of this comes the awareness to shift to context-specific approaches that can enhance the impact of mere funding. SELCO Foundation invites organizations and individuals to come forward and share their impact failure stories and to fail loud.